Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Okay, so this is absolutely amazing. This lunatic Democrat, Chris Van Hollen, who went down to El Salvador to meet with this member of a terrorist organization, MS-13, the so-called Maryland man, Garcia. He very well may have violated the Logan Act, which is a very major crime. So we have this Democrat senator who could have criminal charges brought against him. Listen to this. This is in the Gateway Pundit. Chris Van Hollen's El Salvador visit may violate the Logan Act and trigger criminal charges. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. And, you know, today is my birthday. And what a great birthday gift to hear that the Democrats are out there violating the Logan Act and they're being called out on it, okay? Let me read. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Senator Chris Van Hollen's sudden trip to El Salvador to try to free deportee Kilmar Abrego Garcia may have been illegal. Senator Van Hollen traveled to the Central American nation Thursday to meet with Garcia, that's the cats over here playing, and lobby for his return to the United States, despite the fact that Garcia is not a U.S. citizen. Thanks for the birthday wishes, guys. Legal experts and conservative commentators are increasingly arguing the Maryland Democrat may have violated the Logan Act, which prohibits unauthorized diplomacy with foreign nations. The 1799 statute, named after Pennsylvania Senator George Logan, bans communication with foreign officials with intent to influence their measures in relation to any disputes or controversies with the United States or to defeat the measures of the United States, which the deportations of the terrorists from MS-13 is U.S. policy. The Logan Act was previously weaponized by Democrats to harass President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn. So General Flynn, that's what they went after Flynn on, if you remember. So if it's good enough for General Flynn, it's good enough for this idiot Democrat Van Hollen. Punishment involves a fine or imprisonment up to 3 years. The American Accountability Foundation sent a letter to Senate leadership Thursday highlighting the Trump administration's evidence that Garcia has connections to the violent transnational gang MS-13, which has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization. So that's in the Gateway Pundit. Then in Trending Politics, there's an article as well. Let me pull this one up. Hold on. This is an article in Trending Politics this morning on this. Dem senator could be in legal trouble for meeting with deported alleged gang member. I don't think he's alleged because 2 federal immigration judges said he's MS-13. That establishes it, doesn't it? If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. Several legal analysts and political commentators, this is in Trending Politics, have noted that Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland and major idiot and jerk, may have violated a 1799 law prohibiting unauthorized diplomacy with his recent trip to El Salvador, where the Democrat lawmaker met with suspected MS-13 gang member who was deported after entering the United States illegally. Oh, yeah. This is in Trending Politics. The Logan Act, named after Pennsylvania Senator George Logan, allows criminal penalties for any Americans corresponding with foreign officials with intent to influence their measures in relation to any disputes or controversies with the United States or to defeat the measures of the United States. It's been law since 1799 when Logan met with French diplomat Charles de Talleyrand in defiance of then-President John Adams' diplomatic goals. Logan, in conjunction with Thomas Jefferson, was attempted to end U.S. hostilities with France in what was known as the Quasi-War. Yeah, so here we got it. I mean, he is being called out. So let me know what you think in the chat, yes or no. And if you're not watching live, let me know in the comments. Has this idiot Democrat senator violated the Logan Act? Should he face criminal charges? I say yes. Absolutely yes. Without question, yes. That's right. Yep. Now, President Trump, his immigration policies are so popular that even CNN's reporting. Listen.
Okay, let's talk about the polling. Then I want to talk about another thing you mentioned, which is the optics of it. But on the polling, because I think this is important. He's right. Trump has his best favorability on the issue of immigration broadly. But can I ask you to explain something to me?
Please.
You have some polling that shows Americans would be okay with everybody being deported who's here illegally. There's also polling that asks more specifically, if you have been in the United States for 10 years, you've paid taxes, you have no criminal record, but you are undocumented, do you support deporting those people? 63% oppose that. So how do we even make sense of these numbers?
Yeah, sometimes it's so interesting. You poll the public, and it turns out the public can hold conflicting views even within themselves, right? And it's part of my job to figure out, okay, where do they actually feel?
See, the CNN, they're very confused. They don't. The majority believe that everyone in the country illegally should be deported. Can you explain that? Well, yeah, they're here. They're criminals. They're here illegally. They've entered our country illegally. They're getting more money every month than your average Social Security recipient. They got it. We want them deported. It's amazing that that is a shock to the CNN anchors.
On the overall immigration picture. And I think it's important to note, as we have mentioned, is that Donald Trump's net approval rating on immigration is actually positive, which is very much unlike his first term. If you ask, are we on the right track or the wrong track when it comes to immigration policy, the plurality say that we're on the right track, which is very different from where we were just a few months ago under Joe Biden. So yeah, you see those polling and you see it's conflicting. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of the gun control debate, right? Where you see, oh my God, 90% background checks. And then of course you look at ballot measures in places like Nevada and Maine. And then when it's actually on the ballot, it's basically 50-50. In my opinion, on this particular topic, what we're really talking about and the metric we should be looking to is, do people like, when they ask, do you like what Donald Trump's doing on immigration? And if the plurality says yes, which is what's going on, then that's the number that I think is most representative of the public at large.
Yeah, sorry, CNN. And, you know, the reality is that the Trump MAGA conservative viewpoint has always been the popular viewpoint on the immigration issue. It's just the media have been misrepresenting what people think. And since the liberal viewpoint has been so overrepresented in the fake news, it appeared that the deportations were unpopular, but they are incredibly popular. Here's Jake Tapper, idiot Jake Tapper, on CNN with a talking head.
You just heard CNN's Harry Enton that voters generally back Trump's immigration policies.
That's right.
Today in the Oval Office, President Trump said illegal immigration was, quote, the biggest reason he won re-election. He might be right about that. Do you think that your party is missing something on this issue?
Thanks for having me, Jake. I'd question that polling because when you tell people the stories...
Okay, this is a Democrat congressman from Illinois, Sean Casten. He questions the polling. Well, why? Because it doesn't agree with his lunatic ideas?
Very different answers. Ask somebody whether they think an Afghani national who helped the U.S. troops find Osama bin Laden and now feels threatened at home and is here on an asylum case because they can't be sure they'll be safe at home and is under temporary protected status, but not here legally yet. Should that person be deported? Should a dreamer who has fought for our military, should that person be deported? Should a farm worker who travels back and forth with the seasonal crop, should that person be deported? Should somebody who came here to study for college, fell in love, had a kid, and now has overstayed their visa? These personal stories.
Yes, they should be deported too.
People have a much different...
No anchor wives or anchor husbands, okay?
Answer.
Do you think we in the media aren't telling those stories?
These people all, but...
I mean, the media, look, The media tells plenty of stories like that, and we're not asking about individual A or individual B. We're talking about the deportation policy writ large, and there has been a change in public opinion on this in the last 8 years, away from your position and towards President Trump's position.
Now, that's Tapper. Now, I disagree with Tapper on that. I think the majority have always been on Trump's side. It's just the media has been misrepresenting his side. Would you agree with that? I think the country's always been conservative. Oh, I want to tell you, I got these. You can actually get these for free at with my promo code Kane at MyPillow.com. This is Mike Lindell's new energy drink. Okay, so I've had a lot of coffee, so I'm not going to have an energy drink right now. But these do not have sugar or caffeine. There's lemonade. You can get these for free at MyPillow.com with my promo code Kane. Lemonade, blueberry citrus, and green apple. That's right. And you can get this. This is the trial pack, which you can get for free with my promo code Kane. Try it out and find out which flavor you like. I'm a green apple guy, so I'm assuming the green apple is going to be my favorite, but I don't know. I'll have one of these later today. So go to MyPillow.com and use my promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and get your Mike Lindell energy drink. Okay, so the very fact that these deportations are finally happening has the media just flipping out. And this is Simone Sanders on MSNBC. She was one of the first staffers of Kamala's to quit. And she's sitting here with Michael Steele, fake Republican, on her panel on MSNBC. Listen to what Simone Sanders says. She's out of her freaking mind.
But to me, that is why Kilmar Abrego Garcia's specific case, the case of the gentleman who's a makeup artist out of California who was also sent to that prison. That is why the 75% of the folks who have been sent, the men who have been sent there that don't have criminal records, that is why this is so important. Because if they could do it to them, if they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. To be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
I think that's right, and that's certainly part of why the African-American community is so strongly behind the supporting Kilmar.
Yeah, we're like, we are not for this.
Yeah, because as you just said, if they're going to whisk them away.
But
okay, so Simone Sanders and her panel say that African Americans are going to be deported next. Give me a break. I mean, how can they go on television and say something so stupid? African Americans are U.S. citizens. This guy Garcia is a wife beater, a member of a terrorist organization, and he's not a U.S. citizen. He's in the country illegally. It's not this. I mean, it's really a disgrace what they're doing on MSNBC, and they have no shame to be ashamed of themselves. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. I mean, come on. Does anybody buy that? I mean, to go on television and say something like that with a straight face and have a discussion with other people with a straight face, it to me is insane. How does that make it on television? Nobody goes around and says that's just a little bit too far. No, because they're so consumed with their hatred of Donald Trump, they can't see straight. And that's the reality of it. And you know what? They'll always be that way. But they're getting worse all the time. Absolutely. Now, Justice Alito released a statement on this insane Supreme Court decision that Trump can't deport these illegal people. Listen to this. This is in the Gateway Pundit. In a blistering dissent, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, joined by Justice Clarence Thomas, has called out the reckless and legally dubious move by the Supreme Court's liberal majority. It's not a liberal majority. The liberals are the minority, unless you're counting, John Roberts and them, to block President Trump's lawful efforts to deport dangerous foreign nationals. Now, remember, the Supreme Court issued a late-night emergency order that was unsigned, by the way, they say here. That's interesting. Nobody wanted to put their signature on it. Let me get to the dissent. In a fiery dissent joined by Clarence Thomas, Justice Alito took direct aim at the Supreme Court's liberals. Okay, this is what he said. This is Alito. Literally in the middle of the night, the Supreme Court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule, without hearing from the opposing party. Within 8 hours of receiving the application with dubious factual support for its order, and without providing any explanation for its order, Alito wrote in his opinion. I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Both the executive and judiciary have an obligation to follow the law, and this court should follow established procedures. According to Justice Alito, the Supreme Court only had jurisdiction if the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals had jurisdiction first, and the Fifth Circuit could only act if the order appealed from was a denial of a preliminary injunction, not a temporary restraining order. Alito made it clear that far-left groups like the ACLU were manipulating the process, isn't this something, by prematurely appealing something that wasn't even formally denied. The High Court, according to Justice Alito, took the bait, something he says violates precedent and basic legal procedure. That's right. Yeah, good for Alito. That's right. Look at this. Stephen Miller, he's talking about reparations for Americans hurt by illegals. What?
They've gone.
This was on Rob Schmidt's show on Newsmax. I missed this.
They've gone nuts, and the optics of it are just unbelievable. Sheldon Whitehouse is talking about seeking.
No, I'm not balding. I just have bedhead. Nope, not balding. I'm not Tim Pool. No bald spots.
They've gone nuts, and the optics of it are just unbelievable. Sheldon Whitehouse is talking about seeking damages from the government for Abrego Garcia. He's talking about $1 million a day. He wants to fine the U.S. government for the...
So he wants to give Garcia $1 million for every day he's imprisoned.
The deportation of an illegal alien who has been found in a couple different instances to be an MS-13 gang member. What on earth could possibly...
Where are the damages for Americans?
Exactly.
I don't know how much time I have here, but I mean, for the love of God, where are the damages for Americans? Where do I even begin? Where do I even start? We used to have a functioning public school system in this country. Then we had open borders. Now our schools are in chaos and disarray. We need hundreds of translators. Nobody's learning how to read or write. An entire generation of Americans, multiple generations, in fact, have been robbed of educational opportunities. Entire cities. Look at Los Angeles. Once a paradise of safety, security, and prosperity. Entire neighborhoods occupied and controlled by foreign gangs. Where do all the residents who've been displaced, who've been forced out of Los Angeles, where do they go to get their reparations?
Exactly.
And then what about the victims of fentanyl poisoning brought in by Democrats' open border? Hundreds of thousands of moms and dads whose kids are dead and buried in the ground. Where do they go to get their reparations from the government? And then all the women who have been raped, who've been beaten, who've been murdered, all the dads who've been shot dead and aren't home, all the police officers who've been slain by illegal aliens in ambush attacks in the line of duty. Where do any of these people go? Where do any of their families go to get reparations? Or the 500,000 children that Joe Biden trafficked across the southern border and put into the hands of unvetted so-called sponsors? Do you know how many stories I could tell you of children that were trafficked across the border and raped because of the policies of Joe Biden? There aren't enough volumes that could fit into a library to calculate the carnage that has been inflicted by the Democrat Party's policy of open borders. We can spend the rest of our lives trying to document those harms. Where does our whole country go to get repaid for all of the wealth, all of the prosperity and security that has been stolen from us by decades of uncontrolled illegal mass migration? Because we all deserve reparations for what has been stolen from us. It is a tragedy that defies our ability to even describe it.
Wow, Stephen Miller, he's awesome, isn't he? Anytime Stephen Miller is talking, I stop and listen. He's always great, and he calls out these liberals like nobody's business, doesn't he? Oh, yeah. Do you support reparations for victims of the illegals? I do. Yeah. And their families? Absolutely. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. Oh, he's amazing. He is probably the best, next to Trump, of course, the best representative of the MAGA movement. He articulates it better than anyone. Anyone. I love him. He's great. And you know what? He's always right. He's always right. He's never not right. That's the other thing about him that's absolutely amazing, isn't it? I mean, there's never been a guy who's been so right, other than Trump, of course. Oh, yeah. He is, he's amazing. No, he was, first time I heard of him is when he was going to Duke University and during those fake rape allegations against the lacrosse team, and he was on TV regularly defending them against the false rape allegations, which he was right on because the so-called victim who's in prison right now, a few months ago, just admitted she made the whole story up. He is always right on the money. He's very good. Very good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No one can out-debate Stephen Miller. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, no one. He's that good. Mm-hmm. Oh, he always has the right answer too, doesn't he? No matter what, and not only does he have the answers, he's got great examples to back up every argument, always. The cultists would be the Never-Trumpers. We're the majority, right? The Never-Trumpers are in the minority. Yeah, so, no, the Never-Trumpers are the cult. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he's always ready, right? I mean, right off the fly, too. Right off the fly. This is Chuck Todd talking about the media's failure to stop Trump.
There's no doubt Trump wants some revenge. Sure. Right? On the law firms, on press, whatever, you know. But let's not beat around the bush. All these institutions did want to cancel Trump. Yeah. Did want him inoperable in mainstream public. You know, I think the biggest mistake, and I did not follow the Pied Piper on this one, which was this idea that we deplatform everybody post January 6th. This is a democracy. This is the First Amendment. And all of a sudden now you've got law firms or what's going on and all this stuff. It's like, look, that was a bad moment. That doesn't mean, look, I understand the passion of that moment. Right. Yeah. But my God, the whole point of the Constitution is to protect minority rights, not majority rights. Yeah. The whole damn thing was written to protect minority rights. And so, yeah, you may not like that speech, but speech is speech. And the decision to deplatform bit mainstream media in the ass. Why? Okay, Donald Trump started his own information ecosystem. How do you like them apples now? Right. And then, I sit here, it's like traditional media, oh, what's happened? Yeah. You did try to deplatform. Yeah.
Okay, Chuck, he's wrong about the Constitution is not about minority rights. It's about the rights of everyone. What he's talking about is minorities should have rights over the majority. He's talking about, white people should be, I guess, the majority should be rounded up and subservient to non-white. I don't know exactly what he means. I don't know if he knows what he means. But I do know this, that all their efforts against Donald Trump helped in the end. I mean, when he's talking about the deplatforming. When they deplatformed him, it was during time of a national emergency, January 6th. He was the sitting president of the United States, and they cut off all lines of communication out of the White House to the American people. Never heard of such a thing. They should be in jail for what they did on January 6th, and that was disgusting, what they did, wasn't it? It was absolutely disgusting. Yeah, I showed these a few minutes ago. I just got these yesterday. Mike Lindell's new energy drink. You can actually, this is the sample 3-pack, which you can get for free at MyPillow.com with my promo code Kane at checkout. And I've had so much coffee this morning. I'm not going to drink them right now, but these are the Mike Lindell energy drinks. There's no caffeine, there's no sugar, and this is the introductory 3-pack that you can get for free with my promo code Kane at checkout. They have 3 flavors: green apple, lemonade, and blueberry citrus. Now, I'm a big green apple fan, so I'm going to assume this is going to be my favorite, but I don't know. I like lemonade, and I like blueberry too, so I'm going to try them all. But you can get this introductory 3-pack for free at MyPillow.com with my promo code Kane at checkout. Mike Lindell's new energy drink, Rev7. And remember, you can use my promo code Kane at checkout on all the specials at MyPillow.com. And when you do, of course, you're supporting all my content, which is greatly appreciated. Promo code Kane, Kane, at MyPillow.com. You know, this is one, they're just never going to accept that Donald Trump is not just popular, his positions are popular. His positions are the majority opinion of people in this country. And they just can't wrap their minds around that. And one of the reasons they can't do that is because they just can't accept that they've been wrong these last 10 years. They like to think that they're the majority. Now, I played this yesterday, but this has been buried. This MS-13 terrorist who beats his wife, Garcia, according to her, Garcia, his wife was on Good Morning America on Friday, and they asked her about him beating her up, and her reaction is insane. Listen.
I have to ask it. You did take out a temporary order of protection against your husband in 2021. Were you in fear of your husband?
Look, silence. She won't answer. She won't respond.
My husband is alive. That's all I can say.
Okay, then you know I'm not going to push on that.
Why would he not push her on that on Good Morning America? I mean, that's amazing. She went to court, said he beat her up several times, entered evidence, beat her bloody, gave her black eyes, bruised her, true blood, right? The last thing she wants is to have that guy back home, because all the money that she's getting that's pouring in, he'll take, and she wants it for herself. Now, this is the man who very well could face criminal charges for violations of the Logan Act, Democrat lunatic Maryland Senator Van Hollen. This is him on MSNBC.
The response from Republicans to your visit is that you care more to meet with Abrego Garcia than you do with Rachel Moore, who is the mother of a Maryland woman who died in your state. What is your response to that criticism specifically?
Well, my response is that my heart goes out to the family of Rachel Moore. As I said at the time,
his heart goes out, but he's not meeting with them.
My heart breaks for what happened to them. That should not happen to any family in America. And I am very glad that a court of law convicted her killer and is going to punish her killer in a court of law. The reason we have courts of law are to punish the guilty, but also to make sure that those who have not committed crimes are not found guilty and arbitrarily detained. In other words, everybody has due process.
This guy's gotten his due process. He went to 2 federal immigration judges, and now he's a member of a terrorist organization. That's such a bogus talking point. Due process ends at some point, okay? I mean, they just don't want to accept it. Now, this is 2 big Trump haters and idiots, Chris Matthews and Jim Acosta. Listen to this.
The OJ trial all day.
That's right. That's so true, and it just dominated our lives. I remember that. But the other, one thing that every taxi driver will talk about these days is Donald Trump. And I have to ask you some newsy questions before we...
Jim Acosta is so lonely. He takes taxis, which I guess maybe he's in New York, but don't people take Ubers in New York? And he has conversations with taxi drivers because nobody else wants to talk to him.
Spend the entire time together reminiscing.
I got an nasty.
Okay, well, good. I'm just wondering.
What did Hitler do in the Holocaust? He took people from Germany to other countries.
Okay, so Chris Wallace is saying Trump's doing what Hitler's doing. Hitler declared that citizens of Germany were no longer citizens because they were Jews, and then he would deport them. Okay, that's not what Trump is doing. We've been invaded by a horde of terrorist barbarians, MS-13 Trinidad de Agua, that are raping and murdering people. and he's deporting illegal, violent criminals. That's not what Hitler did. Chris Matthews, a disgusting person.
You know, what did Hitler do in the Holocaust? He took people from Germany to other countries.
Yeah.
Where there was no German law. There was not even a pretense of German law. They took them to Poland or, Hungary or whatever, and they killed them.
And so when you see what's happening right now with this El Salvadoran gulag, I mean, this sea cup.
The gulag, yeah, the gulag. Where the guy's out there having margaritas with Van Hollen.
Gulag. He's basically taking a page out of that playbook, you think?
Well, it gets him out of the country. And, and he says he gets this president of El Salvador to say, now, if I were at CNN or MSNBC and I was in that Oval Office, I would have asked 2 questions. This is not original. Oh. First question to the president of Salvador. If President Trump asked you to send this guy Garcia back to the United States, would you do it? Then I'd go to Trump. Next question, Mr. President Trump, will you ask him to send them back?
Okay. I love how Chris Matthews has this fantasy with this rehearsal question he asks in the bathroom mirror, and he's just going to, he's going to expose the president of El Salvador and President Trump, and he's got these 2 stupid questions, and they're going to be caught up and hooked up and look like idiots. Keep dreaming. Trump should let Chris Matthews in the Oval Office so he can ask these stupid questions and then clean his clock.
Exactly. I don't want to. Of course, it's up to him to do it. If he doesn't get facilitated by Trump, if he's not asked to do it, but Trump never said anything.
Well, and I
that's just,
no, and there's a component here that is deeply disturbing because it seems to be all about inflicting cruelty. It's all about.
It's about making our country safe. Now, listen, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk.